Hi, I'm Mike Speranza, Corporate Executive Chef at Custom Culinary. Today I'm going to make a very simple, versatile, fun recipe that I'll call roasted mushroom barley risotto. I'm going to start by roasting some mushrooms. I've got some coarsely chopped mushrooms, which I've coarsely chopped. I've rinsed a little bit as well. Now you can use a variety of mushrooms as I have. This is a mixture of cremini mushrooms, white button mushrooms, and portobellos. You can add or delete any of those. You don't even have to use mushrooms if you don't want to. If you want to change this and do some roasted seasonal vegetables into this risotto, you can do that as well. So I'll start by seasoning some oil in a bowl, just with a little freshly chopped garlic. Now I'll toss my mushrooms into that. Toss these around a little bit to coat them. Season with some salt and ground pepper. They're nicely coated, so I will then just place them on a sheet pan. And these will go right into the oven. Got a 350-degree convection oven. I just place them right on the middle rack and roast them for about 10 to 15 minutes. Alright, so while the mushrooms are roasting, I'll start the risotto. Now I call this risotto because it's prepared in a traditional way of risotto that's made with Italian short grain rice. In this case, we're going to use barley. The barley will add just a little more fiber to the dish. We're going to cook it exactly the same way as we would cook a traditional rice-style risotto. So I'll start with a little butter in a hot pan. And I'll melt that. To the butter, I'm going to add a little shallots, or in this case, I actually use some minced red onion. We'll get those sauteed for a moment without browning, so we'll keep them at a nice low temperature and we'll just keep them moving. Now I'm going to take my barley, pour all that right into the saute pan, and continue stirring to get just a little bit of color on the barley. Coat that with the butter. If it looks a little dry at this point, you can also sneak in a little bit more of olive oil. Keep that moving, stir that around for just a few moments. After it's nicely coated, then over low heat, I'm going to start adding vegetable broth. Now, one great thing about this recipe is the versatility. This is a plant-based, or I like to call it plant-forward recipe, because there is a little bit of dairy product in there, a little butter. I'm going to use a little Parmesan cheese at the end. But for the most part, this is all a vegetarian dish otherwise. So I use vegetable stock. You could also use chicken stock, beef stock, or veal if you like. I'm going to start with adding a few cups of the broth. And I'm just going to slowly simmer this until all that broth gets absorbed. This is where it's going to take a little bit of care, a little bit of love as we just continue stirring. The more we stir this dish, the creamier it's going to get. We'll get all the starch right out of that. It'll be nice and creamy and delicious. I've got a pretty low heat. And I'm going to continue cooking like this. Very slowly. This will probably take 20 or 30 minutes. As the stock all cooks into the barley, I'll add another half cup or so at a time and just continue stirring, continue cooking. Then when this is done, we'll add those nice roasted mushrooms. We'll finish it with some Parmesan cheese. Simple and delicious. All right. So my barley risotto is just about done. I've got one more little bit of stock I'm going to put into it. You can see how it's drying up. There's still a little moisture, not completely dry. But I'll add the last of my stock into that and continue cooking that again, still very slowly, stirring quite a bit. Nothing stuck to the bottom of the pan. Just keep a nice low heat and keep it stirring, and the more you stir, the creamier it's going to get. Now, we've got those mushrooms that are in the oven. We'll take those out. So after, that was about 15 minutes. We'll take these out. You see, nice roasted mushrooms. They're cooked through and tender. There's some juices that came off of them. We're going to save all that and incorporate that into our risotto as well. So now I've got the last of the risotto here. I'll bring that over to my board. We don't need to cook it any longer. And now I'm going to add my mushrooms with all those nice juices. Tons of flavor. And if you're referring to the recipe, you can see that the recipe called for some scallions to be roasted in here as well. During these days when not everything is available at our supermarket every time we visit, it's okay to take that out. So we'll just eliminate those in this case. You can put in some bell peppers, you can put in some celery and roast that as well. Zucchini, yellow squash is beautiful in here. I've got my mushrooms and my cooked barley. Now I'm going to finish this off with some Parmesan cheese. For me, you could never add too much Parmesan cheese. This is a ton of our flavor. This is a lot of our salt that's in the recipe, so you don't need to over salt. Now once this is done, you can still see nice and creamy. Let's do one plate. Again, the versatility of this recipe lets you serve this as a main course, an appetizer, a side dish. You can do just about anything you want with it. I'll finish it with a little chopped fresh parsley. Happy National Cancer Survivors Week.